actually going to throw the first question to you. What does the piano lesson mean to you?
The piano lesson was a wonderful learning experience. I learned the importance of family sticking together. When you're arguing with a family member, that doesn't mean you guys can't talk it through. I have people in my life that are not blood related and they still cheer me on, like the Washingtons. The Washingtons supported me on set and they also support me in my personal life. I would love to work with the Washingtons and the other cast members. And thank you all for supporting the movie.
Should we just go home?
Oh, great show, everybody.
I'm collecting my thoughts here. I'm not sure where to start now. I never started. Incredible film with Malcolm. Why don't you walk us through to start how you came to this particular film, particularly as a co-writer and director?
Yes. When I first read the piano lesson, it was one of those things where there's like these rare moments in your life where things just kind of line up for you in a way. And when I read piano lesson, I was in COVID. It was like early COVID. So like many others, it was really reflective time, thinking about yourself, the direction of your life, who you are as a person, these kind of ideas. And I was digitizing my family photos. I was like trying to build out my family tree and understand who I was in the context of those that came before me. Like try to learn their stories and maybe in some way find something out about myself in that process. So when I read Piano Lesson, in the middle of all that, it's like, whoa, okay, here's something that deals with all these ideas you're thinking about right now. It deals with, forces you to confront these things about yourself and about your story to make sense of it all. And it was something that I knew I had to engage with deeply, whether it was making a movie or not. I just had to engage these ideas. And ultimately that turned into the movie that you saw.
So what were some of the initial challenges, thrills of taking this pretty iconic stage text and making a film out of it, which you do incredible, it's very cinematic, really beautifully done, but I'm curious what those initial sort of roadblocks were.
I think it's scary. It's scary to work on something that means so much to people and then also have a desire to push it forward, to push it further. I think that my process to it was so very much mirrored by the work itself. There's in the story, it's about a person who's trying to build on a legacy left for him. And in the film, making the film felt very much like that. August Wilson is one of our heroes. You know, in our culture, we revere our heroes. We say their name, we declare them heroes and put them up there. And August is as high as any. So I think it's scary to work within that, but then once you set the mission that, we're gonna do something that's important, we're gonna revere this man, we're gonna respect his legacy, but we're gonna make it in a way that can speak to audiences that maybe are younger, don't see themselves in it, they don't know they have access to this, they don't see the power in it for themselves. If we can get it to the next generation, then it'll live on and on and on.
Yeah, for me, when I saw the movie, it stayed with me for a really long time. I think that's gonna be true of a lot of you here tonight. And so I'm just curious for each of you, the actors, when you first encountered the piano lesson, the play, whether it was the film, and what spoke to you within it. Danielle?
I encountered August Wilson's Century Cycle as a child, maybe around middle school. I was witnessing the plays being done at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta as a part of Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company. Kenny Leon has worked with August Wilson for decades, right? And then I saw it on Broadway. I saw 7 guitars on Broadway. And so I've just been August's legacy in the rhythm of how Black cultural experience is made. The people who were doing those works in Atlanta were people who were mentors to me. Some are presently ancestors and some are still working. But it just defined for me what it meant to be an actor in his works and just what Black cultural art was at the time. And so it's just a part of who I am, my DNA, the way I sought to become an actor, and the way Black folks live and be. I want to do that kind of work.
John David, how about you?
So I got to do the play with Michael Potts here, and it was an incredible experience. I've been saying it a lot. Like I just found out who I was as an actor, and then I found out who I wanted to be, and that it's actually attainable. And that's through the words, August Wilson's words. If you ever, as an actor, get to speak them, get to live them and breathe them, it's something very liberating about it. And there's such a rhythm to it. The musicality of it was so relatable and strangely fluid. I don't say easy, but fluid to comprehend in a way. At least my body was comprehending it in a way that was so fluid. And I really went with it, but it just taught me so much. I got to see a production of 2 Trains in Atlanta, and I saw Fences on Broadway. And when I got to, I read 7 Guitars as when I started studying acting in the HB Studios in New York, and I just couldn't wait to get my opportunity. I know something on the other side of this was going to bring something out of me that I needed desperately, and I got the opportunity to do that.
Well, my first experience with August Wilson was, I think, in the 80s when Fences was on Broadway. And I remember watching a Tony Awards broadcast. Back then, they would do little vignettes or snippets from the nominated shows, and there was that great scene between Troy and Corey, played by the late, great James Earl Jones and the great Courtney Vance. And I remember hearing that, and it just affected me in such a powerful way. It sounded so familiar and so authentic to the way I grew up. It sounded like my family in many ways. And so I knew then I had to find out, how did Courtney Vance get on a stage with James Earl Jones? And so I found out where he went to school. I went to that school, and Lloyd Richards at the time was the dean of our school. He's the one who pretty much introduced August Wilson to the world. And so there was so much August Wilson around us. 2 Trains Running was at the Rep at the time. Piano Lesson was on Broadway, and Joe Turner's Come and Gone. So it just became a sort of full circle moment finally. I mean, I always wanted to do it, and no one ever thought I could. Or early on, they thought I was too young. Then they didn't think I could. And finally got the chance to do it.
Long time coming, but
Yeah.
we're all very lucky that it finally happened, I think. For both of you, I'm curious what the shift from doing this on Broadway to on film was like, both in terms of the tonality of the characters and then getting to work in a different kind of space with more landscape, because this is very much a film about land and being in the space. So how did you find that?
Well, I found that the thing that you can do in a movie is you can capture the nuance, because the camera is right there. Something that you can't fulfill as well on stage. I mean, the first few rows can get it, they can see what's going on in the characters, but row Z is going to have a hard time. So you have to externalize it more, but you can sit more deeply, I think, in what's happening when the camera's there to capture it all. And things can resonate and vibrate in your body in a very, very different way.
Yeah, I focused a lot more on behavior for the film, and letting the words, even the words that weren't in the movie necessarily, but that are in the play, that dictate my behavior, and that behavior will dictate my posture, my cadence. Everything changed a bit because it was a little more naturalistic. I think we're able to live in the spirit of these people more clearly because of how Malcolm opened the film up for us and set a table for us to try things. So how I listened was different. you know, and it could be captured on film, how you listen on yourself. So all those kinds of opportunities I, you know, couldn't wait to try.
Danielle, you're coming into this relatively fresh to this role. So given that many of these actors were in the Broadway play, how did you find becoming a part of the company, getting into their rhythms?
I found it torturous.
Really just like just as I've observed.
Deeply torturous. A lone woman amongst a cadre of men. It's beautiful. This is one of the most remarkable professional production experiences I've ever had. And I find that to be, to start with Malcolm in the way that we began our friendship, our collaboration. We're just like-minded people. We vibe, right? You know, he got a twin, but I'm a twin too, so we triplets now. You can be in it too. And then we just all naturally, just because we have a reverence for the work, because everybody already is inherently dedicated in that way, we're coming and doing to dive into from one end of the spectrum to the next with each other. We had a joy and a playfulness that just allowed itself to be outside of the production space and to be even more in the making of the Charles family. And I just had to do the work of over-preparing.
Just that.
Just that.
How'd you do?
What do you think?
Amazing as always.
Thanks for keeping me.
Malcolm, for me, the stroke of genius about this as a movie is the way that you take spirituality, supernatural elements of this play, and heighten them in a way that's very rooted in something that has a great deal of meaning. And I wonder if you can talk about what that is rooted in for you. You talked a little bit at the beginning about how you connected to this play, but the story itself and the way that you film it, I think enhances those themes. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when there's something that's so traumatic, the only way to express it is in the supernatural, right? So we're using genre as a way to get to a deeper idea, to a larger idea. And that was central to our take on this project. I was really interested in this story of spirituality. This is very much a story about belief, right? This is a story about the African American experience in wrestling two different ideas of spirituality. One is West African spiritual practice that's been brought over across the Atlantic, through the islands, into Northern America. The other is the Southern Black Christian church tradition, right? And both of these things are being reconciled here. Both of these things can feel like they're at contradiction in our culture, but somehow we find the dexterity to make room for each. These traditions, right? These are the spiritual practice of our ancestors, the spiritual practice of our present, and how do we reconcile the past and present? Because that must be reconciled to get to the future, right? That's what we're trying to do. It's about progress, migration. So in the film, we put these things on the screen. How do we deal with that? The end of the film confronts that head on. You have boy Willie on a spiritual journey of himself, a journey of belief. You have Bernice, who's trying to figure this out for herself, who's the whole movie she's trying to be believed. Nobody believes her. She sees this thing, I've seen it, I know what I saw, I've seen it, and people don't believe her. You know, they don't believe her. So in this film, we wanted to kind of swirl these ideas around, like to mirror the experience that we've had. And this is stuff that's in the text that we use genre to get to. And that's underneath the surface of what I'm hoping is just a thrilling, exciting film.
Was there any choice along those lines that felt like particularly scary to you? You used the word at the beginning.
Yeah, the balance of all these things. You know, this movie there's a lot of tones, there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of brilliant performances, there's a lot going on, and I wanted to balance it in a way that would honor August, that would honor the tremendous work that all the actors have done, that could speak to these deeper ideas that we're trying to discuss, that we're trying to offer to the audience, and get to the truth.
I'm curious for these two actors here. Your characters are engaged in this very spirited, vigorous debate throughout. Did you debate amongst yourselves? Like, how did you engage with the material?
Stirring up old stuff.
Do we debate?
I don't think we
I
debate.
don't think we debate.
No, man.
We were in total congruence.
Yeah.
Never felt such a vibe.
In concert, exactly.
Kind of simpatico.
I'll ask in another way. We were talking before that this is a film that sparks conversations while you're filming it, after you make it, you guys are still talking about it. So what are the kinds of conversations that you had during the making of the movie? What were the ideas that you were latching onto and sparring with a little bit?
You know, I really legit don't think we were battling or debating each other. Like, I feel like we were just in the work in a certain kind of way. I was trying to manipulate him by being sweet and kind. As Danielle.
Lie to these people?
No, I made cake, right? Like, I made carrot cake.
Good cake.
And I made carrot cake because I make carrot cake for people that I love.
Go ahead, tell the truth.
Oh, alas, I put my foot in my mouth.
So then you came in there with one character. Just remember that.
That
I failed early on. But I brought it back.
Yeah, you made up for it.
what was interesting too, I guess, like, because the conversations about that were minimal to, I don't really remember them, but at the same time, where we're really entering the house, they haven't spoken in a long time either, and they got all these issues that are in there that they haven't dealt with. You know, the loss of her husband, her late husband Crawley, she blaming him for it. He went to jail for it, Parchment Farm. Like, there's a whole backstory there that needs to be uprooted, and we see that unfold in addition to the obvious piano in the room. So like all these issues are kind of being dealt with, you know, in the flow of the story. And
That's what I thought was so brilliant about how you both approach the work is that there's so much conflict in the story. There's so much conflict. Your two characters see the same thing so differently, and there's odds about it. But it's like I've been thinking about. I feel like it's like these two planets in orbit, and they don't crash into each other, nor do they float away because they're connected by love. There's like this love that's there. That no matter how much you fight, no matter how much you want to beat each other up, and sometimes you did, literally. There's this connection of love. I think that's so beautiful in the spirit of this whole thing.
Yeah, no, I would say there was a peculiar and in a lovely, positive, special way in the way that we physically moved about the space with each other. I would say that we weren't conversing about it because I mean that's in the work they are, you know, moving away, coming back together, moving away. You talked about that a little bit earlier, like this coming together, breaking apart, coming together, breaking apart. That lived in our bodies, and we talked about our bodies. The words are living in our bodies as opposed to us actually having the Danielle and John David conversation about it. So it's a spiritual undertaking in the way it was settling into us, and that all just lived more so in the scenes as opposed to in who we are as people.
And one more thing, I gotta say, this art, imitating life art thing. Boy really reveres his sister. I think he wants her respect so badly. You know, in life, in real life, I'm just such a fan of her work as well. So there's like a thing that was happening, I think I was using in a way, maybe even subconsciously, of just the love and the respect that he's wanting from his sister. And he's gonna prod and do everything he can. Like, you're from Mississippi, remember? Like, don't act all different because you're in Pittsburgh now. That kind of thing. So I think all of that was sort of in the stew before obviously the big title fight.
Michael, for you come in with a certain kind of energy. I would say you change the energy of the story every time we see you in the best way. But it's an interesting role to play in a film. How do you approach that?
Well, you know, it always begins with the text. You start asking yourself questions as to why is he here? What is he doing here at this moment? What is the point of all that he is saying? And you begin to unpack things, and you realize, I mean, he's a product of the haunting and the generational trauma of this family. And so he's walked into a moment, this clash between, that's inevitable. It was always going to happen between the brother and the sister. They were going to have this out. And then he and his brother, Doker, played by Samuel Jackson, there isn't much we can do about it because we're a generation before. We're close to what precipitated this schism, in a sense, but it's nothing we can solve for them. We can only observe it. And so, whining boy himself, he's coming in with his own kind of trauma, the death of his estranged wife. She was dead and buried before he even heard about it. The guilt of that, and his need to connect with his brother, a man suddenly without a place himself. So it's just all these themes that August Wilson plays with throughout all of his works. Men without home, without a place in the world, and how that affects everyone else within the given story. There's so much initial incidents that happened before an August Wilson story began. It's almost Jacobian. These things that affect the rest of the storytelling.
Yeah, and it sometimes feels like you're on like the shore and the waves are rippling in when we start.
Exactly, and you just get caught up in it, and you have to just kind of deal.
So in the spirit of the Ensemble Award, you've all very deservedly won today. Malcolm, to close, what impact does it have on you as a director to work with actors like this, to see them working together, and to see the film, I would imagine, come alive in some of these scenes that are just so electric and visceral?
My God. I was so lucky. So lucky every night I would go home. And just think about the work that they did, the work I got to watch on the monitor. You come in as a filmmaker with all these ideas of things that you want to do, that you hope the film can be, and you've planned and you've plotted this thing for years and years and years, and then you show up on the day, and the thing that you want more than anything is to be surprised. Is for everything that you imagined for years when you went to sleep the night before, you can close your eyes and saw the movie, all of that you want to not happen. You want some other thing that is superior to all of that, to come from a person with a soul and humanity and give you something that you couldn't even imagine. And with this group of people that I got to work with, my family and friends, the people I admire their work the most, came in every day, committed, prepared, and surprised every step of the way. And when you're cutting that material, it's like, you feel like a little kid that's like won the candy lottery, and you can't believe that for some reason they chose you. So I'm honored that you chose me. I'm so grateful and proud of all of you, and the ones that aren't here, Sam, Sky, Little Sky, Big Sky, everybody of the work that you all did and put up on the screen.
Woo!